Mic check 1 2 1 2. I just want to share a little video real quick with a tool that I have utilized. I've been utilizing for years, and I've been sharing with others, and it was shared with me. And that tool is intentional breathing. And the one we're going to talk about today is coherent breathing. Kids, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So I think it was in 2015 when I first heard a Tim Ferriss podcast with my dear Wim Hof, the Iceman cometh. And if you don't know of him, he's a Dutch man. I'm not sure how old he is, in his 70s now, or he's in his 60s. He's an awesome man, really incredible. Just Google WIM space HOF, that's his name. But in that interview, podcast, he shares, a lot of his just incredible life experiences, like climbing above Everest death zone in just shorts and running a marathon across the Namibian desert with no water, and setting the world records of swimming underwater ice and under ice in swimming in underwater ice. That would be an interesting one, but he would probably do it. But anyway, a big part of what he does is intentional type of breathing. We're not going to do his breathing today, but that was my first experience of learning, like, oh wow, this thing that I thought is just how it is, me breathing, there's actually other ways that we can do it, and they bring about different results. And his breathing has been studied in universities with himself and with people that he just teaches to do. It's very simple. It's just breathing in and out 30, 40 times, and then exhaling fully and holding the breath for as long as possible. Then inhaling and holding that breath for 15 seconds and doing that several times. And that's been shown to greatly boost the immune system. It's been shown to help when they inject him with like toxins or poisons, and shown his body immune response, and he's able to actually start controlling part of his nervous system that we in the West, with our current understanding of medicine and physiology and science, had thought that it's not being able to be controlled, his body's responses and whatnot. So that opened my mind up, and I began looking into things like, wow, okay. And little did I know until I began looking, wow, actually breathing has been studied for thousands of years in certain cultures, and they know all kinds of things about it. Mostly, in the East, India, China, Japan, these different places. And there are different types of breathing, of course. Yoga, Western yoga gets into it a little bit, but different types of pranayama, all these different things. So what I'm chatting about right now is called coherent breathing. And it is, I will share a link to it that shares it nicely, but it's basically breathing in and out. There's different ways to do coherent breathing, and we can explore on our own. And I'll share some resources, a nice book and video and tools and things. But the general pretense is that with the video that I'm going to share, we're breathing in and out through our nose for a certain amount of time. Usually it's either 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, or 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, or some amount in between. So for example, if we're doing 5 seconds, actually what I can do here, what do you know about this phone charger here? Let me change this, and we can do it right now. So this is the app that I use, and I'll put a link to it. This one called Breathe. And we see here it's set for 5 second inhale, 5 second exhale. I usually do it if I'm just doing it on my own, I like to do it around 5.5 or 6, and I do it for at least 10 minutes. So I just start it, and you've got the sound. So you can hear that in the background, I believe. So we're breathing in, with our nose, through our nose, and we're breathing out through our nose. In and out. And this has many different reasons. As I learned once I looked into it, breathing through the nose, there's actually many great benefits. It's the way that we're naturally created to breathe. And many things occur when we breathe through our nose that don't occur when we're breathing through our mouth. And I had always breathed through my mouth. Most of us do, because it's a stress response, it's a fear response, it's a way that, when we're in reaction or something, we do that. And at an early age, that gets imprinted into our DNA, because with the study of epigenetics, epigenetics, which shows that our DNA is actually changing all the time, activating different things, turning on and off and adjusting. We're not, we're not stuck with who we are because of our DNA like we used to believe. And so these things get imprinted at an early age, and then that just becomes our unconscious. And we're going around with this shallow breathing, and we're doing this, and we wonder why we also react really fast. Sometimes we get so stressed out and we feel that fast. And a big part of that is because we are going about all day long doing something that is meant to be done when we're in extreme stress, breathing in that way. So when we breathe through our nose, as I said, all different sorts of things occur. One, it cleans the air, which is nice when we're living in different places. Different neurochemicals are released. It slows down our breathing, so we're actually able to extract more oxygen from the air, and all these sorts of things. When we do it in this certain pace, which has been studied in the past and in the present, and there's many studies. I may post some links to some papers and stuff on it. But this has been shown to slow down our stress response. So when we breathe this pace, this sends a message to our brain, to the fight or flight area of our brain in the base of our skull. And it lets it know, actually, we're fine right now. Like, we're in this safe, relaxed place. And so then that is able to send messages to the heart and let the heart know. And then when this happens, it creates a feedback loop. So the heart is the most connected organ to the brain that we know of. And from what I've read, it's around 80% of the connection goes from the heart to the brain. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the brain takes in and puts a lot of value on the message that it receives from the heart. So when we think that we're making logical decisions, we think that we're so logical and so rational. I mean, many psychological studies have been shown, and things like I'm just telling you right now, we know that people don't make decisions based out of rationale. Generally speaking, they're based out of these deeper things, emotional things or feelings of intuition, or for many of us who don't have practice with it, it's some sort of reaction or fear or something like that. So when we're doing this breathing, sending message to the brain, sending it to the heart is now slowing its pace, and it's at this regular, coherent pace. The frequency, if you're not familiar, our body is an electromagnetic organism. So our nervous system is an electrical system. That's the way that the messages are sent through the nerves, is electrical impulses. And the heart produces a magnetic frequency, and this frequency can be picked up with magnetometer machines. I forget how far, like a handful of meters, like 10, 15 feet, something like that. So we have an electromagnetic field that can be shown with technological instruments. So, when people talk about being on a frequency or things like that, it's an actual real thing. And so when we slow our breathing down and we do it in this way, then that helps the heart go into this more coherent way of beating. And then that's sending this feedback message to the brain and letting the brain know, hey, we are safe. And then we're not in this reactive fight or flight mechanism. So it's a very wonderful thing. I like to do it in the morning and in the evening when I wake up and go to sleep. But then I also, as we do it over time, we get used to it, and really we're going back to our natural way of breathing. So then it becomes easier to just drop into that. So when we're driving down the road, or we're in conversation with one of our family members, or we're at work and we just learned that something we weren't expecting to happen has happened, or when we foolishly choose to watch the news for a period of time, or when we hear something that initially sounds scary, we don't just go into this reaction mode and we don't start amping our body up, amping our heart rate up, seeing red. We can't really think about it. We react. We go into the same old patterns that we've done before, whether it's anger, whether it's fear, whether it's blaming, whether it's whatever, going into escapist, addictive behaviors. And instead, we're able to consciously and intentionally, and over time it even becomes subconsciously, calm ourselves, slow ourselves, regain mastery of ourself instead of being controlled by external things. And then we're able to enjoy life more. So, may you enjoy this. I have one friend, she has had, it has great health benefits as well. As I mentioned, some of them with Wim Hof. I have a friend, she has had seizures since she was a child. And she has tried many different things. Being in the West, of course, tried pharmaceuticals at some point. And I shared this with her, this book, coming up on 2 years, I think. And the last we spoke, the end of last year, she said that it's one of her favorite parts of her day. She does 20 minutes, as the book describes. It's a part of her meditation, and she's at the place where she has the least amount of seizures and the most brain health that she has had since she began having them, to the best of my understanding. And she's starting to go off of medications. So there are great benefits for it, physically and psychologically. Enjoy.